Good morning, everyone. Oh, my screen is all funky. Let me adjust this here real quick. Whoa. There we go. There. That was a little weird. All right, welcome back to the Workday morning show. I am your host, as always, Tony Gilfillan. This is Tuesday, February 17th. We are back at it in the usual spot. My little sign got moved. When my printer runs, it actually rocks that sign off, so I tend to move it when I'm printing. All right, so if you joined me yesterday, I was upstairs in my playroom with my kids. It was President's Day, my kids were off, and I was messing with OpenClaw on my old Windows machine. Ran into a bunch of dependency issues, as is tradition with Windows. I did end up fixing it by essentially uninstalling Node, reinstalling it, restarting my computer, and installing a couple other dependencies that happened after that. I didn't get it a whole lot of setup done after that. It's basically just OpenAI tied to Telegram, so it doesn't actually have any real control over my computer. Doesn't have any additional skills as of yet, but I plan on iterating on that a little bit more later this week. So I'll report back on my findings on OpenClaw, but it is, relatively secure. That PC is pretty much empty. It's got a couple games on it, but that's about the end of it. It's its own little Windows user that's not tied to my credentials. None of the passwords or anything are saved on those browsers, so I'm pretty confident that that machine is not going to be a huge security risk to me. So OpenClaw is pretty interesting. Honestly, it just got sold to OpenAI, so we'll see. I'm sure some development there. Alrighty, so to jump back to what I was doing last week, I essentially was playing with the Claude agent teams. Since Opus 4.6 got released, agent teams are now available in Claude code, and I was basically building on top of my little hackathon app that I was working with to replace what we currently do at our DevCon hackathons. We are using in years past, using Slack and a Slack bot to handle ticketing and messaging between teams and our experts. So I was interested to see if I could essentially replace that solution, because right now we're not doing a paid plan for our hackathons. We're actually doing a free instance that expires every year. So we have to basically spin up a new one, and it's a lot of different maintenance and headache every year. So it'd be nice to have something a little bit more personalized and customized and able to be spun up all year round, that we don't have to regenerate every single year because of the need for spinning up free instances. So let's go and take a look at where we currently are. So basically what I had last week was a kind of functioning ticket functionality, a chat functionality that basically didn't work at all, and the integration from Workday to my application was completely non-existent. I did do that prompt last week. We built out this whole big prompt with the team and all the front end and back end and database and the deployment and all of the integration and infrastructure was all pre-baked into this prompt to essentially give the agent team the ability to bake this whole thing. So we'll see what it actually created for me. I'm curious to see if it is actually worth checking out. So let's have a look at what it actually did for me. So it is running. Where is my Claude code? Claude code even running? Where's the admin credentials? Oh. I'm going to start a new instance of Claude Code here because it seems to be a little funky. Claude. Running into that. What is the admin credentials? Definitely did a significant amount of changes. I didn't really monitor this thing after I let it go. I did just approve a bunch of stuff as it was building, but as you can see, there's a lot of different changes. I'm not going to go through each individual file here. That would basically eat up the entire 30 minutes of trying to get this working. But I can imagine these features are not fully baked. You know, these LLMs, they claim to do things a lot more than they actually do. I hit my limit. Okay. So I'll wait on Claude Code. Let's go over to our cursor agent then. I hit my limit for the month. February 28th is when I get reset. Alright, hackathon.com and password. I did see before this finished, it was stuck right before I jumped on here. But this agent team, to do every single thing that it claimed it did, it was around 500,000 tokens, so not a trivial amount by any means. So hackathon and password is password, very secure. Doesn't even seem to work. Better reset my logins too. It's quite possible. Pull up a new browser window here. That doesn't work. So it must have basically wiped out my local database for the user. Put admin credentials. This database clearly is not persistent. So once this application essentially gets deployed out on whatever hosting platform it's going to live eventually, it will have a Postgres database that holds all the credential data, so it doesn't get lost every time it makes an update. User exists in the database and password. Why isn't this working? Something got goofed up in the login flow, it seems like. Moving MFA, why would it do that? Oh, some of the choices these IDEs make just to get things working is questionable. I'm not even going to be able to get to attempt to do what I wanted to do today if it doesn't actually let me log in. Essentially, I wanted to put an agent team in charge of fixing the chat piece of this, which I'm sure is not working exactly the way I want it to, even though I gave it a very descriptive problem to solve. All right. Oh, it's testing the login itself. Maybe the server just need reset. Database schema mismatch. This is where these LLMs start to get like less helpful. The more complex your code base gets, the more context it eats up on every single prompt. So, it's created however many lines here. Heck, it just created probably a couple thousand lines just in what it was trying to do before. See if I can't log in now. I think you're right. I mean, I just wanted you to fix some things, not break the existing stuff. I wonder if the register button works. Nope. Probably should have created a new agent for this too, because it's also using the context from all of the questions I asked previously about other features. And that's where you run into more context problems, is when it looked like it's already written 4,000 lines of code today. So when you're just working in the same chat box, it's still using all of that memory from the entire history of your chat, and that adds to your context too. So it eats up your tokens a lot quicker than if you were to just create essentially new chat windows for every single smaller piece of information that you need to work with. Which I need to get better at doing, because I tend to just live in that large chat window to just keep iterating and iterating, when in reality I should break it up into smaller bits, because the more context an agent has, the more it has to think, the more tokens it eats up, the more likely it is to hallucinate. Hey, there it works. Okay, we're 17 minutes in, and it finally fixed the problem that it created. Where did my secondary window go? No, it doesn't work. Admin at hackathon.com. There we go. Password is a exposed tickets. We know that functions. This is sharper looking, but I can't add anything to it. Okay, so it definitely did a UI overhaul of this that definitely has a little bit more of a look to Discord and Slack, but I mean, there's no channels, no direct messages, and no way to add them to any of this. So we have 12 minutes. I'm going to create an agent team to create a better chat functionality, and we'll see what it can do in the remaining 11 minutes. All right. We create a prompt to generate a to help agents. I'm going to screenshot in here. There is currently no alert at or channel. So essentially, I just want Gemini to help me define this agent team prompt so they can build out a better experience than just this pretty black and white screen that does nothing. Coordinate agents and chat initiation flows. Product owner, UX designer, front end developer, back end developer. All right, try it. So now that I have eaten up all of my tokens on Claude Code for this month, I am going to use Cursor. I'm going to switch off auto, and I'm going to use Opus High, which technically still should be able to use agent teams. So we'll see if you can use agent teams in Cursor. You can use multiple agents in on the sidebar here, but again, these are sub agents. These aren't agents that can talk to each other. So we'll see if the Cursor agent can handle agent teams or not. We'll see. Looks like it's just reading stuff right now. It's not creating an agent team for me, so not looking super promising as of yet. And it's already eaten through 80,000 tokens. So no, it cannot. Essentially, if you switch the model within Cursor, it's just going to use that model to generate stuff. It does not have the Claude Code agent team functionality. That is unfortunate. So the to-dos it gave for itself: create API chat, blueprint with channels, DMs, messages, and search endpoints, update socket IO handlers for conversation-based messaging, register new chat app init.py. So that's most likely just being able to spin up new chats, update chat context with create channel and create DM actions. It's just creating all of the bits and pieces on the back end, and then some plus icons to create on the front end. So I don't honestly, this probably isn't even going to function if it's just creating some back end APIs and some buttons. It might be able to create some mock new channels and new messages, but I would say it's very unlikely that this is going to be a functioning chat functionality within the next 5 minutes. But honestly, that's not shocking. Like, this is a complex software system. Like, Slack wasn't built in a day. Real time messaging is complex because of its need to be real time. But we can keep iterating on it. And again, I need to start being better about creating new agents for smaller, chunked out portions of this. So when I'm working with Cursor, that kind of leads me to think I need to start creating my own agent teams. Again, they won't be able to talk to each other, they'll be sub agents. But again, you can block out the information yourself to make the development process more, you know, more agile like, so it's broken out into smaller chunks, and the LLMs are going to be better at doing the little bits of information versus like, here, build this whole thing. Because these frontier agents, A, don't exist really in Cursor, and B, Claude just eats up your tokens. My token usage for this month is a prime example of that. So yeah, a monthly usage to generate something that doesn't really function. What else did it create for me? So it did enable two-factor authentication. I wonder if that functions. We'll look at that in a minute. some settings around the MFA policy. Leaderboard, at least that's persistent. It hasn't failed on me. Change anything on the ticketing side of things? Doesn't look like it. If I create a ticket, does it appear on the dashboard? The tickets don't even work anymore. Cool. So that's fun. So not only did it not finish a function, it broke pretty much the only two things that were working, which were the login and the tickets. The tickets were actually creating tickets prior to its 500,000 token extravaganza. I wish it tried to break this up into smaller chunks itself rather than, claim to do more than it does. Like, if you give it this prompt, this big old prompt to do something massive and like create this robust system with the architecture and how you want it to tie together, it attempts to do it all, but it attempts to do it all really quick within the context that it has, and it ends up eating up your tokens and building a haphazard system that barely functions if it does. So, lesson learned here is chunk this stuff up into very small development processes that are easily testable, and you can iterate it on little chunks at a time versus these massive chunks that I've been throwing at these LLMs, and it just eats everything up and doesn't really accomplish what I'm trying to do. So the question I posed for myself today is, can I throw an agent team at the chat functionality to fix itself within half an hour? Well, the obvious answer is no. No, it cannot. It's not going to be able to crank out a fully functioning um, piece of software that is complete and covers like an MVP by any means in 30 minutes. So this stuff is amazing. That's obvious, but it's not magic. Like, it still has to do, still has to work within the bounds of software development. It has to create things, it has to work, it has to iterate, and it doesn't have all of the context around what it needs to connect to, what it needs to actually look like, how to critically think through. You need to act as that product manager in developing these things. You need to be that voice of reason for helping the LLM get across the finish line. It looked like it created a few channels and extra roles for me just to test. So let's see what it did on the chat side of things. It did create a general chat. Does this work? Hey, that's cool. Direct message with another hacker. Let's log out and test hacker@hackathon.com. Chat. That is persistent messaging. Okay. Well, I stand corrected because I would say this is functioning chat. Well then, so I retract my last statement. It can do do the things that it says it does. Obviously, this is not perfect by any means. There's, I'm sure, a slew of issues and bugs and things that I'll need to fix. Can I create a new channel? Oh, that's cool. It's even put in private and public. Oh, that's cool. Come on. No, okay. That's badass. So this is really cool. It did not use an agent team, but the cursor Opus 4.6 was magic and did a bunch of cool stuff. So amazing. All right. We will reconvene tomorrow and keep on iterating. Looks like chat functionality is, you know, working. I'm sure I need to test a little bit more, but it's looking pretty good so far. Thanks for joining me, guys, and we'll catch you tomorrow.